Hey everyone, welcome to the first remote Belgian beer seminar at Revision. It's a firstie for all of us, including for me. My first time with OBS setup. I really hope it works. There's fuck tons of cables and stuff around me, and also a little beer hidden outside of the screen that you can see. And let's get going. I know usually this is with an audience and there's reaction, so well, I think if Stephen Colbert can do it without an audience in these times, so can I. So hello. Let's just get going here for a second. So this is the 7th Belgian beer seminar, and we are doing this time with the Bring Your Own Beer edition. This is the default slide that we do every time. So let's go. Oh, by the way, who am I? I'm FRaNKy of the Royal Belgian Beer Squadron, Accession Digital Sound Systems, Smash Designs, Belgians as a Service, and daily life I do IT project management, and I also do consolecables.be, where you can get all the stuff for your retro gaming demo scene and stuff for all computers and consoles. That's what I do. So this is a social event, even at home, so join me on Untapped. If you add me, please tell me a small message, send me a small message with your name so I know who you are and that I can accept you. A small disclaimer, you will have to provide your own beer. Sadly, we do that, I know, very sorry, it's not going to happen this year, we might catch it up. So we're going to give you a few minutes to go to the fridge and get some beers, get a supply, and see how we go from there. If you are an advanced beer user, you can now go down to your basement and get some beer at a chilled temperature, or at basement temperature, which is usually not as cold as fridge, and for the heavier, darker beers might not be the worst idea in the world. I've also adapted the legal page here. Usually this is the we're not responsible thing. Now you're very responsible for the stuff that you will be drinking by yourself. I just touched my face in Corona times, don't do that, people. Anyway, so let's recap a bit. We visited Brussels before in our seminars, but still, so when you throw Brussels into your favorite map application, you will come up with this, and you say, well, this is what Brussels looks like. No, you have Brussels is a capital of Belgium, capital of the EU. Don't tell the people in Strasbourg that, and yeah, that's it. But is this Brussels actually? Well, the answer is no. It is not Brussels, and yeah, why? Well, let me explain you in a corner. Hello, I'm back again. So actually, Brussels as its own is the little thing in the middle which goes up to the north, and there are 18 more cities and municipalities in and around the area which make up the larger Brussels region. The one with the largest inhabitants is not even Brussels. Brussels comes in, well, yes, Brussels is first because it's a bigger zone. Then there is Schaerbeek, then there is Anderlecht, and a lot of other municipalities, each with their own flag, with their own mayor, with their municipal councils, their own social services, slightly different local laws, as in what can you put in the trash and what you cannot do. Although one thing is merged, and that are their police forces. There used to be 19 as well, but they have now put together into 6 larger ones, and they might be looking at joining them even more, although then you come into the Belgian case of the politics. And in the meantime, still giving you some minutes to get your own beers and join us, because you're going to have to provide them on yourself. But we have gone here. Brussels is evolving as it is. It is a complex area, and it always takes time to catch up. As in, a few years ago, they decided to make a pedestrian area, and they just put some concrete blocks in the road, and just, okay, we'll see how it works. And in the end, it worked. It takes a few times, it takes some debugging, but they're in generally slower. But they are evolving, so, and that's something that we want to show in here as well. So here's an example. This is a place called Place de Brocaire in 2009. Yep, it's a pretty normal street. not that much cars. Must have done it on a Sunday, because this is usually pretty gridlocked. And then from 09 we go to 2014, and first thing you notice on the building is that Technics no longer was in business. They have taken the sign down from the building, and they have made like the center divider, which was painted on the floor, a bit wider, which is safer. And then of course the police started to use it as a parking lot for their cars and their vans. And then when you look at from 14 to, well, basically 2018, suddenly, well, the building now has a bigger LED screen, and this is being transformed into the pedestrian area. When you look at today, 2020, this is completely finished. It's a nice square where you can walk, and there are terraces and everywhere. Also, if you look to the right at the movie theater, Taxi 3 was playing, or maybe even Taxi 4. I can't even zoom enough, and I'm not gonna bother as well. At the central station, oops, I'm blocking the N. At the central station, this is April 2019. So there's a big boulevard with buses and cars. You see an easy 5-6 lanes of traffic, and then just 6 months later, there's this square. You can no longer drive around. It's buses only. There's a pedestrian area, and it's a different square. So yeah, there's stuff going on. And then when you look at the building to the left, also something happened. We got a Brewdog. Yes, Brussels now has a Brewdog bar. Is this a seminar about Brewdog? No. There's a lot of things been happening in Brussels. Of course, we've done the seminar a few years ago with all the spontaneous fermentation beers that are hard to get because of a low volume. But there's been a lot going on in and around Brussels, beer-wise. Some stuff has been bubbling for years, but then they're starting to get there. You can find it in the bars and the shops, and slowly it's growing and moving away from all the more traditional breweries. But you know, they're still around, by the way, so you don't have to have any fear about that. So this is the first brewery immediately. It's Bières des Quartiers, which is French for beers of the quarters and areas of the town. And this immediately shows that it's, while Brussels is known, and I've done it in my seminars and I make jokes about it, about how it's completely politicized. It is the francophones versus the Flemish or Dutch speakers. And there's a constant war going on. This is basically bullshit. As you can see right here, the language is bilingual. It's a mixture of Dutch and French going on at the same time, and it works. So, bienvenue op le website van Bières des Quartiers. That's 3 languages in one sentence. And when you go to Brussels and you talk to somebody, it'll make perfect sense to them. Oui, zeker en vast, that's French and Flemish, and oui, nee, pas encore. That's just the Dutch, like oh no, and not yet in French. This brewery, they got some beers, and they have named it after various regions that you have in the Brussels area. When you look at Saint Boniface, that's a church. Stockholm is like the heart of the city. The beer Trois Tilleuils. Tilleuil is a lindeboom. It's a kind of tree. There's actually a big traffic intersection in Brussels called Gros Tilleuil, Dikke Linde. So yeah, those trees are kind of a landmark. And then you go to the one on the right, La Wiener or Wiener, whatever you want to pronounce it, you are completely free to whatever pick you want. This has it's a beer with like a pepper aroma, but the area, the region it's about is the Forêt de Swan, the Zonia route, which is a big forest area towards the south of Brussels. And what it has there, it has a tram line to it, and that's why they have a little tram on their label. And even here, when you look at the description, which I copied from their website, it is this incredible mixture of Flemish and French. And when you live in Brussels, you just pick this up. It might take you 1 or 2 reads, but you don't need to be bilingual. You just throw everything together in this lovely Brussels language, and there you go. And you'll see this coming again, that it just kind of works. And then looking on those trams, if you're a bit of a train or a tram anorak, yes, those are the actual PCC trams. They're still driving around in Brussels, and also in Antwerp and Ghent, by the way, on the smaller lines outside the city, but they're a bit of everywhere. So in the meantime that you would have your beers and you should drink them, I'm not gonna instruct you to drink them. You should just do that. We're going to have a little beer quiz. It's about Belgium in general, and just to keep the fun it, and just, you might actually learn something here. So we're going with, how many governments that Belgium actually has. Now, don't forget, we're a federal country, regions and communities. There's 3 regions, 3 communities, each with their own government, and important to know for us is that no one outranks the other. When you look at, like, United States, the federal government has an influence over the regionals or the states, which will go over the counties. This is all at the same level, which makes for really fun things when you look at things like the airport. But for that, go to YouTube and watch the previous seminar on the Brussels beer, because that was a lot of more info in that one. So, here are your 3 regions, the Flemish, the Wallonian, and then the special Brussels capital region. You have your communities, and as you will see that the Brussels area is a little bit semi-filled in, because what the communities do, they go for things like culture and education, so they are providing legislation for people of the Flemish or the French language speaking corner. Also, don't forget the little German corner in the end, which is every now and then pretty important, because they always act like a referee between the Flemish Dutch speaking and the Wallonian French speaking politicians. Always good fun. By the way, you should drink, because you're gonna need it. So here are the regions, what they do. One is economy, and so location based. Other is person, so that's the education, sports, media, so that they go over like the TV and the radio licenses, etc. Federal government, they do the high level stuff, so all the talks to the EU, foreign policy, the pensions, because there's no way they can split them up, it's just too complicated. Some economy, although all the local regions also have their own economical delegations that they send out. So in total, that's 3 communities, 3 regions, and 1 federal, and that's 6. 3 plus 3 plus 1 in Belgium is 6. Why? Because the Flemish community and the region, they merged together into the Flemish Parliament. The French-speaking, they kept them separate. So, well, we'll get back to that later and see how that makes things even more fun in this country. Let's go back to some beers now, by the way. Drink. There's Brasserie de la Senne, which is, of course, in Brussels. And over here you see all this immediate mixture of Dutch and French return. You have Zinne beer. Zinne is the local name for La Seine, which is a river. We'll get to that. There's the BRUSSEL, which is like purple from Brussels, and the label says the Zwetten IPA. This Zwet is black. It's Stoutrik. So they're all really local language dialect focused here. I really wished you could taste them right now. We'll have to catch this up because some of these are awesome. Come to our sink in the local bar. They had all of them. So yeah, we might announce that next year. Anyway, so La Seine or the Senne is the old river that goes to Brussels. So they took another landmark to name the brewery. Bit of an open sewer in the 1800s, 1900s. So they decide to cover it up. They rerouted it a bit. And if you see here, the blue thing was where the river was, the yellow are the streets today, so they basically redid a lot of the streets on the old river area because that was suddenly open. So if you go from north to south, you basically go on top of where the old river was. Now it's somewhere else. It's under tunnels. It's completely closed off. You can downtown Brussels. You cannot see it. It's only at the northern industrial area where it becomes visible again. That's guess about this. Many cities plan to reopen the rivers. When you, for instance, go to Leuven, which is where Stella Artois is, which I'm from actually. So they're slowly opening up all the covered river areas, and you can see it again, and it's becoming really awesome. Brussels isn't there yet. They might in a few years, but well, as said, it goes a bit slower. And fun thing here is when you have the river uses the sewer, you need water purification, and they put it at the north. This is a small map from the north of Brussels, and the river flows from south to north. It's put more or less at the border, and it took a really long time for the purification to become active because, well, the red area is Brussels, the green area is Flanders, which have different environmental standards, and it only took until Flanders said, well, okay, we'll kind of pay it for you guys, that they put the purification there, because Brussels said, well, it's not our problem because the water's gone and our health standards are fine, and then Flanders went apeshit, and you can do an entire sermon over that. I've done that, by the way. So, there's the thing now. New brewery, by the way, you should drink a bit. Is the Lambic Fabriek, and the slogan is no bread, no glory. They have this nice design with this skull that they're putting on all the stuff. These guys started out buying the lambic from other brewers to make their own kriek or cherry beers, but as they were buying just too much, they just said, well, stop it, we're not selling to you anymore. So they did it themselves. They started with one beer, the basic goes. Then they added 3 other beers, the Fontanelle, the Jartel, and the Muscarel. The last one is with grapes. I'm really kind of interested in how that one goes. But then, now we're going into the lambics and the geuzes, so we have to jump back a bit to where was this started from. And the lambic beers are the Brussels one with the spontaneous fermentation. So you throw everything in an open vat, you open the window, the wild yeast flies in, and the beer just starts to bubble. Look on your favorite search engine for some pictures. They're basically barrels with all kind of brown foam jumping off of them. A fermentation takes a while, although that all the wild yeast has been isolated. You can buy it. It's still not the same, although you can get pretty close to how it goes. Now you have to get some naming conventions here, and that if you the basic beer is a lambic. That's what you get with spontaneous fermentation. And if you put that in a barrel and you wait more or less 3 years, you get oude lambic or old lambic. And when you make an old one and a new one, when you mix it, you get a geuze beer. If you then re-ferment that, if you re-ferment your lambics with the fruit, that's when you get the kriek beer, the cherry beers, and all the other fruit beers or grapes or whatever fruit you want to put in there. So you can go a little bit far if you want to. By the way, drink. The naming convention, if you read your Belgian cartoons, you know that Lambic from Suske and Wiske, or Bob and Bobette in French, or I have no idea what they're called in all the languages. This character was named after the beer. The beer was popular when the comic book, when the character appeared, so he was named after that. So. Again, going on to a language thing, so they have the 3 beers that I mentioned, which is the oude geus, the Bretel, the oude kriek is the Jartel, and the Young and Wild is the Fontanelle. And yeah, these are, it's all in French, and it's a bit of an in-joke because their suspenders, their stocking upholders, and their holes in the baby skull to make basically the skull exit during birth. So yes. Oh, and also Sound of Belgium, excellent final pack. You should get it. And coming on the No Bread, No Glory portion of the slogan, of course there is no bread, no glory, because there is only one Bret Hart. And for Bret Hart, you should drink at least once. For Jake the Snake, drink twice, but then he drank too much, so just keep it at one. It's fine. So, another one, which is a little bit more of a vintage look here, is the BELGOO brewery. They started in 07 making their beers externally at different breweries. You can just contract it out and they will make you whatever you want. But they started in 2014 with their own location and actually share a lot of infrastructure with the Lambic Fabriek, as you could, which you just saw previously. As well, here they have a lovely naming convention here. It's all again in this very lovely dialect. You have a zonneke, een bloemeke, and een kiekenbisch. Pronunciation is from my area, Leuven, so not Brussels, but I guess it's coming pretty close. And with that in mind, let's do a small language session. So, een bloemeke is an IPA, and well, it's bloem is a flower. So bloemeke is just a bunch of flowers, and then with all the hoppiness, it goes pretty good together. When you look at, say, a kiekenbisch, which is pretty untranslatable on its own. By the way, on the top of the label there is VA te verwarmen, which is to warm you up. So it's a heavier beer. It's 8%. It'll warm you up if you have a few of it. Kiekenbisch is chicken skin, which is a local dialect for goosebumps. So the beer gives you goosebumps. Speaking of goosebumps, for more Belgian industry, there's a track called Goosebumps by Sandrine. It's pretty nice soul and R&B. It's from 05 or 6. Nice tracks. It's on your favorite video streaming things. Get your thing, and I just made think of the song when I wrote this thing, so I've put the a picture in there. Now, again, now you should really start to drink because it's getting really crazy. With the current health situation, we had a look at how many ministers of health Brussels have. And I'm gonna give you a few seconds to think about it and just have a guess. A small hint that it's already in plural, so it's not gonna be one. Obviously, because that would be too easy. So, have a number, shout it out, write it on a piece of paper, drink. And you're wrong. It's whatever you said, you're wrong. Remember, federal, country, regions, communities. You have language boxes. So we're gonna make you an easy guess. So I've put some of them in the pictures here, and some of them are not. So. There's 10 pictures, and now the question is, which of these people are ministers of health in Belgium right now as I'm making this seminar on the 10th of April, because revision starts soon and I'm still recording this, because I'm always on time. So which one are they? Let's just look at them. Some of them will look, ministerial-ish, someone will look like businessman, some need a haircut, we all do, I guess. So, which one could it be? So, let's just go through the list. At the federal government, we have Maggie de Blok. Then we have for both the regions and the communities, there is one each. Now, there is the Flemish government is together, so we save one, but then you add the German community, and because in community regions in Wallonia aren't split, they each get one. And that's okay. Well, that's it. 5. I was right. No, you were not. You were not right. You were wrong because you're forgetting Brussels. In Brussels, there's these two guys, Didier Gauzin and Guy van Hengel. One is a francophone regionalist. If you have problems in Brussels between language groups, those are the guys causing it. It's like 20 people waving things around and say they have the biggest one, and that's screws it up for everybody. So they're in a board called the GCC or the CCC, and I've just put the Wikipedia text there. It's things you cannot explain, but it's for like things which are from Brussels but used by people others than from Brussels, and then in both languages. TLDR it's like they're responsible for the hospitals because they're in bilingual, and also people who don't live in Brussels, they can come there, and that's what this government body tries to take care of. It's a thing, but then we're not done, because there's two more. There's Cécile Jodogne and Bianca de Baats, one francophone, one Flemish again, and they're then from the community. So in total we have 9 ministers of health, 4 of them in Brussels alone. And still things get done. So we had 10 pictures. We have 9 politicians. So who was the last one? That was Weird Al Yankovic. Without the mustache, she's not as easy to recognize. So back to beer. Oh, by the way, it's just right now empty your bottle because you'll need it. It's been an entire story of politicians and WTFs. So now we go to the most known of the thing is the Brussels Beer Project. They're the most common around certain areas. They started out as a crowdfunding in 2013, and if you supported them for 180 euros, you get like lifetime free beers a year. In the Brussels bar, they have one in Paris now, you get 10 beers, and one in Tokyo you get 6 because of beer prices and stuff. A bit located in the hipster Dansard area, which is pretty okay. It's not too hipstery, but they're expanding. Also, if you want to have a taste of their beers, they will send you a box every 2 months, 12 beers in at least 3 of their styles, 30 euros per box, free shipping in Belgium, and then for neighboring countries there's also a thing on their website. You can check it out. So they have some nice stuff, and they just mail it to you. 3 of the earlier beers, Grossbertha, Delta, and Dark Sister. Delta is a region. Grossbertha is the name of, I think, a medieval gun that's somewhere. I didn't look this up. It's like blah. And they're around. You can also find them in many of the bars in and around Brussels, and also starting to show up in stores left and right. And the nice thing is that for like their Delta IPA, they have put the recipe online. You can create it at home for yourself. What to do when, the entire process, and they're sharing it. This was their first beer, which was they made a few prototypes, and this is the one that ended up being their first one. Here's the manual. You can this is just from their website. It's not like a hidden file I stole from somewhere. They're pretty good. Oh, by the way, all these breweries also they support community stuff. They do homeless shelter. There's one that's doing homeless shower facilities where you can voluntarily donate something if you go to their website. They really link to the community, and it kind of shows that Brussels is more than politics and all of this as well. And well, I could go on a bit more about more beers. This is an overview where you can see what's around, and sadly you cannot taste this. We kind of did. I was going to do my shopping run and order and get all of these like the weekend after we decided that we had to do revision online. So maybe next year beer seminar is catching up and making or expanding this. So we'll just have to see. So that's it for the beer. But then of course Brussels has a lot more as well. See, as it does of course. Manneken Pis is a tourist trap. There's lots of cultural halls. The AB Ancienne Belgique, or Old Belgium, that although it has a French name, it is run by the Flemish government. So yes, and then because Belgium has a lot of cartoons and comic books, there are plenty of huge walls painted in with comic book characters around Brussels. There are tours doing that. If you're doing things like Ingress, they're all portals. There are banners that go to them. You should really check them out. But then coming from Brussels, you have to talk about the mussels from Brussels. So before we go to that, you should drink a bit. Because the mussels from Brussels, well, yeah, but they're like, wrote the mussels from Brussels from Van Damme, because Damme is a place near Bruges. No, that's his stage name, because Jean-Claude Van Damme, or Jean-Claude van Varenberg, he was born in Brussels. I think his mother was Flemish and his father was Francophone, although the name was Van Varenberg. But bilingual thing, and even though today, well, you might not see him that much anymore, but when you look at other media, he was basically they tried to get him to do Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat, and then they modeled Johnny Cage after him. And he also, when they did a Street Fighter movie, he portrayed Guile in there. Also, if you want to see Kylie Minogue in spandex, that's a movie, if you were into those things. So I'm back again. And then, you need to do this. Now, the movie on its own is not the best in the world, because, and this is a quote from a magazine, that he was basically doing $10,000 of cocaine a week, and it's not the best movie. Not only for that reason, but if you really want to watch the movie, watch it for Raul Julia. It's his last movie, and he's totally awesome in it. He did it for his kids, because his kids loved the game. Still, yeah, it's not an Adams, but it's getting close. He tries really hard. Now, also on the Brussels thing, if there's other things in Brussels that you could do also an entire seminar on, it's the waffles. And a waffle is not a waffle, and I'm explaining this to everybody, in the end, by the way, drink a bit more. The waffles are there, the waffles are staying, but the waffle is not a waffle, because you have a Brussels waffle, a Liège waffle, and a galette waffle. The Brussels waffle, they're the big square ones, with all the powdered sugar. The Liège waffles are more round and thicker, and there's sugar lumps inside them. And then the galette waffles, they're like really flat and harder and more crunchy, and you can dunk those in tea or coffee or even beer if you want to. And that's, the international thing is that after Brussels, Liège, and galette waffles, well, there are also British waffles, Norwegian waffles, and Finnish waffles. Usually you don't dunk those into liquid, but they will dunk liquid into them. And of course, the best waffle is the waffle Genève, which has an entire different topic as well, but it's a demo party, it's revision. That's where we brought it to the demo scene with the Royal Belgian Booze Squadron, and from there. And as said, we're out of beer, to quote Truck once, yelling from the big screen at revision that you will now have to build in your own home. So that's it for the seminar here. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you on next parties. Like there's hopefully there's still assembly and evoke, and there's deadline coming up. And rsync, maybe we want to. We're still talking to the venue, but they're closed right now, so we can't really do that. And for that, if you have any of your questions, I will be on the demo scene Discord server. Just ping me there, and I'll see what I can answer for you. And in the meantime, thanks a lot. Enjoy revision. Finish your entries. Deadlines are coming up for Saturday. For Sunday, you have a bit more time. But why am I saying this? Well, I'm also a comp organizer, so get your butts together and finish, because deadlines are not what they used to this year. And that's it. I guess thanks, and we'll catch this seminar up in real life somewhere soon.